All right, well, last night was the fourth Republican debate, and by far I thought the most tedious. Unlike most debates, it seemed like everyone was more focused on the moderators than the candidates. Peter, how did the Fox Business moderators do compared to the moderators at CNBC who hurt Donald Trump's feelings so much?
Well, I'm glad that Trump's feelings were not hurt this time, because he's about the most entertaining of the crowd out there. I mean, he's the only one that you can watch without feeling bad laughing at. The others, you feel like you're laughing at someone with some disability or something. I think the moderators did a little bit better this time. I mean, the questions were such softballs, and they allowed the candidates to sort of say whatever they wanted. So I think that took some of the sting out of the moderation. I think I would suspect also the candidates, other than perhaps John Kasich, were briefed and told to sort of behave themselves this time around. And there were fewer candidates on the stage. So I think altogether it meant for a more civil discussion. I mean, within the boundaries of releasing several mentally ill people into prime time.
Josh, how do you think this debate stacked up against the CNBC one we just saw?
Well, to be honest, I personally prefer debates like the CNBC debate, where the candidates are being challenged and they're uncomfortable. However, I did see the value of the Fox Business debate because it allowed the candidates sort of room to, say enough that we can kind of figure out what they're getting at. It's the old, give them enough rope to hang themselves with. And I think that's a lot of what we saw last night. I mean, the debate was very interesting, especially like when they were talking about an issue that Fox Business seems built for, which was banking. And, the idea, Ted Cruz, whose wife is a Goldman Brothers bigwig, saying he's not going to bail out the banks. I mean, that's a pretty bold claim, and one that I think might have some staying power beyond just, the day after, where all we're doing is looking for stuff to talk about it. Some other things, though, were, just ridiculous, such as the moderators letting Ben Carson get away with saying 19% of black teens are unemployed. The Bureau of Labor Statistics puts it at around 38%. And just other things like that. So I thought it was overall a good debate, but I agree with Peter that it was very soft and very easy on the candidates.
Well, it is a debate, not a hard-hitting interview. Eric, should moderators give me questions that will allow candidates to talk about their specific policies they want to talk about, or should they dig a little harder and ask them things they don't want to talk about?
I think you should always start by asking about the big issues and get their basic understanding of it, and then hit with the harder questions after they've given an answer to make them go deeper into exactly what they want to do. If they just glance over and say, I'm going to reform the tax system by cutting taxes, that's a very shallow answer. But if you dig deep and force them to give you the specifics, then you can learn a lot about a candidate. I thought the debate last night was pretty good. I thought that it was better than the CNBC one because, for me, a debate should always be about policy questions and not the sideshow antics. As much as that may be entertaining for a TV audience, it doesn't translate to good politics. With the Democrat debate, the previous one, they asked tough questions and they were good. I just thought that the CNBC one dropped the ball, and I was much happier with the Fox Business Network.
Well, yeah, I heard a lot of people saying that it was boring, but then after the CNBC debate, everyone was complaining they should focus more on policy. Peter, isn't this what happens when you get a debate that's actually focused on policy instead of the sideshow antics like Eric mentioned?
It's difficult to please everybody. There's a large portion of the audience that sees politics as basically the entertainment division of the capital estate, and they're just really there to distract us while people do what they want to do in the background. I mean, that's why statements like, I'm not going to bail out the banks are essentially meaningless, because we know that they're all going to bail out the banks, because if they get to be president, they're going to have to be funded by the banks, and they're going to have to be beholden to the banks. But nonetheless, I agree that the closer you get to real serious policy and serious questions that the candidates are held to, the further it slips out of the entertainment category and into whatever happens on those shows early Sunday morning that I'm usually asleep. I don't know what they talk about. But that's sort of the whole point, is that they're relegated to Sunday morning when only old people are actually awake to watch them.